and welcome to the Good Goose podcast, where Zach and I, with our names in the correct places this time at the start, just, hang out, chill, talk about what's been going on in their lives, peruse the internet, ask the important questions, and sometimes review movies and TV shows, because that's just our bread and butter.
Yes, we slather that butter on the bread.
Delicious, fattening, bad for you butter. That's basically the DNA of this podcast. We're butter. We're bad for your arteries. Put that on a t-shirt. I'm your host, Nick. Zach, you are Zach.
I am Zach.
Okay,
yes.
Good. Okay,
this
good.
Is me. We are you.
Yes. All right,
I'm still me.
We've covered our bases.
Yeah.
And so what have you been up to? What's been going on?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I've just been playing a bunch of Elden Ring as of late. I am 102 hours into that game.
Jesus Christ. Actually, that's pretty normal.
And I'm probably like halfway.
Oh, okay.
But I'm scraping that motherfucker.
Are you? So you're going all in, like trying to find everything, trying to.
Yeah, I
100% it.
I didn't start. I don't know if I necessarily want 100% it. But I am like trying to hit as much as I can, just the stuff that interests me, which actually ends up being quite a bit, which is a good problem to have. But yeah, like I initially started as like I'll just I'll go about it. However, if I end up sequence breaking or anything like that, which is really it's hard to do in Elden Ring now. There's historically, it was actually pretty easy to do that in like Dark Souls and stuff. You would just like fuck up quests,
right?
But there's some pretty decent parameters for side quests in Elden Ring. So unless there's like 3 or so spots, from what I understand, where you could jack up some quest lines. But for the most part, I've been able to just kind of run around and do whatever and be fine. But as a result, what I do end up doing is I'll end up in an area that I'm not supposed to be at for like another 20 levels. And then I end up beating a boss in that area. And you got to look at the like global achievement stats on Steam.
Right.
And it's like, oh, okay, here's this achievement that you got. And, 60% of people have that.
Right.
And then blank space, blank space, blank space, blank space. And they're all bosses. And then
you're cutting out. So I can't hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah. No, you're somehow it's the same. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know. It's showing up on Discord.
It is, yeah. No, but it's just like it's maybe it's my headphones. It's not my headphones.
Yeah, I don't know. I have the green line on Discord, so I don't know why it's cutting out on.
I'm not cutting out, but it's like it sounded like
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'll end up figuring out that I beat a boss way earlier than I was supposed to, and I ended up struggling through that for way longer than I should have. That's the only downside for the kind of the way I'm playing it right now. It's just like going wherever I want to, and like if I see something off in the distance, I go to it, and that could get me into trouble. I could be stuck on a boss that I'm not supposed to be stuck on for a day. But
and what class are you going with? I didn't ask that. You going the magic route?
No,
you pussy.
I think the class was called Vanguard or something like that, or I don't remember the actual class names, but I'm doing a strength build. So just big beefy boy with big sword. And that's been fun. That's been a lot of fun.
Okay. So yeah, I got you.
102 hours in, maybe halfway through.
Are you like specifically? You said you were kind of trying to get everything, but are you choosing to wait until you're a little bit higher level to face the bosses, or?
I'm not like doing it intentionally. It's just like because I am sort of jumping around into places I shouldn't be a little earlier. What that means is when I get to, I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do.
I don't like your audio is coming in, but it's like somehow going lower and then higher, and it also sounds like you're talking through a windscreen at the same time, and you're not moving the mic or anything. I don't.
I don't know. I literally do not know.
Are you sounding okay to you?
I don't hear me. It doesn't play back on my end.
Huh. That is so odd. I don't have any. I mean, it shouldn't be anything on my end because I was literally just. Let's play a fucking YouTube video to see. Hold on. Let's do this. Where's that silly cartoon girl? That sounds fine to me. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you. I'm gonna blame you.
Yeah, I literally don't know. You said I was sounding fine beforehand, so I don't know what's changed.
It's true, and I don't know what changed either. You're sounding good. I don't think you have to hold the mic because there's been no difference.
Yeah.
But that's fun. This is one of those games we talked about it, offline about. I've got serious FOMO for a game like genre that I have literally never been good at. Literally had no interest in before Elden Ring, and then all of a sudden it's out and everyone is talking about it. Same thing with like Persona 5 back when that came out.
Yeah.
Initially, I tried it, and I was just like, I don't get it. I hate being the outlier when it comes to like what's popular, like being off of the bandwagon, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get that, but at the same time, you know, you were talking about, you know, Persona back in the day, as it were, and you know, you tried that several times and you just couldn't get into it. And I think for Elden Ring, and I said this off podcast as well, if you are not a fan of Souls games, or just like that general sort of design, Elden Ring will not change your mind. In fact, it will probably make you hate those games more.
Oh wow, well that's fun.
Just because like it's all the same eccentricities and like minutia of that type of design. Plus, and I apologize if you can hear my birds. They're actually quite chattery today. You mix that with your Breath of the Wild type open world sort of design where
Right.
you don't really have a set destiny. Like it kind of tells you where to go, but mostly it's just like, do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. Same basic, like, here's the end destination, but there's literally all of this stuff in between you and that, and you can go any way you want, kind of thing.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was getting at before is that's great for me, but it can get you into trouble, one, because you end up in areas where you shouldn't be for a while.
Right.
And two, when you come back from those areas into the areas that you are supposed to be, you are over leveled, which ends up making the technically right place to be like a bit of a you start to steamroll certain areas.
But that can be kind of gratifying in its own way, right? Like it's like, oh, I'm going through Elden Ring like crazy because I'm over leveled because I fucked up at the beginning, you know?
Well, and it's like it's not going through a game like this with a guide is, on the one hand, it's stressful because as someone with severe, like, I have to 100% like the games I play, I have to check every nook and cranny. My wife audibly groans anytime she plays a game with me because will be, do whatever, and I'm like, hold on, I gotta go over into the opposite direction of where the actual end of the level is.
I gotta check behind the waterfall, because you gotta always check behind the waterfall. There's always something behind there.
Yeah. So
I'd be the same way.
It's a problem. But because Elden Ring is a game like Elden Ring is so big, at a certain point, I think you just have to kind of get over that.
Right.
I'm saying that as someone who suffers in that getting over process. And then when you do, it's really kind of freeing, because the way I'm going through this game, I don't think many other people have. I've slingshotted back and forth from certain areas so much that my first run through route is I don't think it'll match a whole lot of other people's,
right.
Which is it's satisfying in a different way.
But it's how you play the game. I think the game was meant for you to do that anyway. The game is meant for you to do whatever,
Well, quite frankly, if you do get into those situations where you get to a roadblock and it's like, oh, you're here 20 levels early.
Yeah.
You are supposed to be like, all right, peace out. I'll come back later.
Right.
You're not supposed to suffer through it. That's just how I did it.
You weren't the only one. You weren't the only one.
Yeah. But all that to say is, yeah, I don't think if you are on the fence about a game like Elden Ring, I don't think playing it's going to change your mind. Mm-hmm. I know it's hard because Elden Ring is the game everybody's talking about right now, because we haven't really had another big release in a minute. But I think you could take solace in just. I don't think you would particularly enjoy it if you've already had a difficult time getting into the genre.
All right. Well, yeah, interesting that you say that there hasn't been a really huge release, and it's not for lack of trying, because a lot of indie studios are trying to make it big in this power vacuum of game releases. The same thing with with the movies. The only big release that came out this week was Firestarter, which is a remake of a Stephen King adaptation, and it is getting just absolutely annihilated because of how bad it is. According to certain reviewers, they just completely severed half of the content of the book into a 90-minute movie with certain characters motivations being completely opposite of what they are in the book, nerfing certain characters.
It is so weird to me that kind of strategy with adaptations is so ubiquitous in film nowadays.
Right.
Because the number of times that a film has been successful by deviating from the source material compared to the number of times that their counterparts where they follow the source material to a T have been successful. The latter greatly outweighs the prior. So I'm not quite sure why, other than money or ego from writers and directors.
Well, I think, and we talked about this on the previous iteration of the podcast, but the balance is adapting something original so that fans of the source material can find something new and exciting about that franchise to launch said franchise, or adapting it one for one, which could be good or boring depending on both the source material that they're adapting and what and how much they are actually willing to invest in a property that they are just translating from page to screen.
Yeah.
I mean, the original Firestarter is not well received either. With Drew Barrymore. Shout out to her. Great show. Great talk show. E.T. But yeah, on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 13% from reviewers and a 50% from the audience. Not great. No, probably one of the lower, I think so far this year is probably the lowest, if not one of the lower ones. But yeah, the Zac Efron casting of this movie does not lift it up enough to want people to go see it.
Zac Efron's in that movie? I
Yeah,
should not remember that.
He plays the dad. He's in dad age.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not. I don't like that.
Oh, and Kurtwood Smith. Kurtwood Smith is in this. Good for
yeah, for like, I know, like you said, we've talked about the adaptation deal quite a bit previously on other podcasts. I think, I've gone on record before saying along the lines of like, basically the new. I would prefer an attempt at something new than as opposed to a straight up adaptation. And I think what that mostly relies on is the distance between your new adaptation and the format of your new adaptation versus the format of your original.
Right.
If it is a book going to a film, I think you're better served erring on the side of just do a straight adaptation, because you're gonna piss off more people than you're gonna be like, oh well, yeah, that was interesting that you changed this, and so unless it's something like universally reviled by people who read that book.
Why adapt it in the first place?
I adapted in the first place, yeah. But when you're looking at things like the Avatar, not James Cameron's Avatar, but Last Airbender Avatar, right. The live action thing that Netflix is doing based off the show, my first instinct is to be like, but if it's the same, like your Cowboy Bebop, if you're gonna be different, then one, you got to make it good. Or if you're not going to be different, I don't know. I feel like there's a fine line, and a lot of this just changes based on whether or not it's good. Just flat out, if it's a good adaptation, no matter what, I think it's you're going to get some leeway either way.
So, just bringing up two examples, you brought up Cowboy Bebop. Not only is that a faithful adaptation, but also trying to do its own thing. Like they're trying to do both things with that show. And did you finish it?
I didn't even start.
Okay. I've
seen clips, like I've seen the infamous bits,
the introducing of Ed at the end. As a tease for what will never happen.
Whoops.
Yeah. I feel bad for the actor who got cast for that role, and essentially and I'm not blaming them, but essentially the fandom tanked the possibility of that show because of the reaction that they had to that character. But to be fair, something that's as lauded as that IP, their chances were so very razor thin to be successful. Yep. I mean, the people behind it, they had good intentions. The actors behind it, they had good intentions, but fans suck. Fandom sucks.
Yeah, well, and like, there's always that toxicity line, right? Where I could totally understand why someone would look at that adaptation of Cowboy Bebop and be like, "What the fuck, man?" Like, I get what you're trying to do, but this is like just kind of a disservice to the original. But I'm just not going to watch it. Like, that's where I stand. I don't think it particularly looks that good, so I'm just not going to watch it. And I'm not going to go on the Twitter or whatever and be like, "What the fuck were you thinking?" or anything like that.
Right.
I'm just not going to watch it.
Yeah.
Whereas
put your money where your mouth is, kind of thing.
It's the people who take it past that point who are like sending death threats and are like posting, tweet upon tweet, like rant threads of like, "Oh, I can't believe you've disgraced the..." Listen, in 10 years' time, nobody's going to give a shit about the Netflix Cowboy Bebop.
No.
It will be a footnote in the annals of history.
Right.
Like, no one will care. It'll be a trivia question after a certain point, like, which famous anime was adapted to a poorly received Netflix live-action show? And you'll have to be, 40 to be able to remember it.
Well, I don't think it's even the only adaptation that they have in mind, because don't they? I know Ghost in the Shell was adapted to a movie, but there are several live action animes in the works. Hold on, let Live action.
While you look that up, all that was just to say, like, this adaptation releasing is not going to ruin the history of that show in general.
I forgot how many that there are. So there's the
Bleach. Yeah, fuck, I forgot they were doing Bleach.
Yeah, they're doing Bleach. One Piece, which is in pre-production right now. Yu Yu Hakusho.
Yeah, you know what? I think that one could work. Of all of them, I think a Yu Yu Hakusho one would be pretty easy to pull off.
You would think. You would think. And of course, there's already been a lot of live action Japanese adaptations, but I'm talking about like Netflix casting, like in America and working America. They're doing a Saint Seiya Knights of the Zodiac live action adaptation. Yeah, I don't know. There is no like validity to any of this that I know of, but apparently the Witcher executive producer, I'm gonna butcher that name, Tomas Baginski, is directing the story.
Seem close.
Famke Janssen, Sean Bean, Nick Stahl, Diego Tinoco. Wow.
For Saints, yeah,
that's a big cast.
Do you remember the English title for Saint Seiya?
Wasn't it just Knights of the Zodiac?
I thought it was Roman Warriors.
Roman Warriors?
Roman Warriors.
Wasn't
that it?
Roman?
Ronin.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're just probably just going to call it Knights of the Zodiac and cut out the Japanese of the title.
I'm sure they're not going to call whatever westernized title 4Kids or whoever gave it.
There's so many. Sony is developing a live action Hollywood film adaptation of One Punch Man. Hellsing is getting adapted with Derek Kolstad attached, so that's interesting, I guess. Netflix is doing a live action Sword Art Online. Naruto, One Piece, we already know.
Just for the record, Ronin Warriors is something completely different.
Okay.
It's not Saint Seiya. It's Samurai Troopers.
Oh, interesting. Oh, yeah, and then, Gundam is being made. Forgot about that. There's a lot. And it's hard to, like, look this up because there's already so many live-action adaptations, like I said before, that are over in Japan. And, of course, they can get away with it because a lot of their live-action adaptations just go straight, like, we're just making this in 3D with real people, but all of the anime is going to be in the story, whereas the Hollywood version is going to make it as grounded and as realistic as possible. Even though, I mean, One Piece, he's got stretchy powers, and a lot of people's big complaint about why Mr. Fantastic in the Fantastic Four is so like, oh, I don't know about that. And the same thing with Miss Marvel. Oh, I don't know if stretchy powers are going to be like enjoyable to watch, you know, because it's going to look like weird.
To the point that they're not even doing the embiggen power for Miss Marvel. She's some power thing. I don't remember.
It's like projection and stuff. They're kind of just they're trying to like justify it. That's the biggest hurdle for that show, and it's not that it's a like the character's origin or the fact that it's a new unknown actress, but the fact that her characters are not going to be embiggened. It's going to be, oh, she's got crystal powers that look like her limbs are huge and that kind of thing. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. Suffice it to say, I have no expectations, nor do I have any faith in anime adaptations. I don't have as much faith in an anime adaptation as I do a video game adaptation. So,
right. Well, I don't know if I want to be excited for any of it. Like after Cowboy Bebop and after the Ghost in the Shell movie and everything that Hollywood tries to do in order to jump off of the success of these anime adaptations, because anime is like, when we were younger, anime was still niche you know, when we were in like middle school, high school. I've known you for way too long.
Japanimation, the age of Japanimation.
It was like OVAs were all over. It was AMVs. I'm sorry, AMVs were huge. It was all music set to clips of anime, and that was the biggest thing.
Vegeta Linkin Park AMV.
Exactly. It was always Linkin Park. But that was all over the internet, and it was like staying up late for either Adult Swim or Toonami to watch like episodes of Inuyasha or Yu Yu Hakusho. Like these are the shows that we grew up with, and I assume that's why it's such a big deal now. Not only because of its popularity worldwide, but because people like us, our age, 70,000 years old, are now the heads of companies like Netflix or like Sony, who are, hey, let's capitalize on this amazing medium that we haven't really tapped into, which is Japanese animation.
Yeah.
So
well, and we've talked about it before. Just the ease of access now is like a huge thing with how much it's taken off. Anime has taken off in the West. You know, like you said, it used to be VHS tapes or whatever came on the afternoon Toonami block, or your Dragon Ball Z and your Sailor Moons and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Then you're later on your Adult Swims with your edgier, so to speak, for your teenage groups sort of shows.
Yeah.
With your Death Notes and your Full Metal Alchemist,
your Fist of the North Star.
That's a lot of people first saw Cowboy Bebop is through those late Adult Swim airings in the West, and now with your defunct Funimation streaming services and your Crunchyrolls, I think a lot of people just take it for granted. Just how easy it is to watch quality anime on the regular, and I think we're seeing the sort of late term recognition that often comes with execs in Hollywood studios, where they're like, hey, this anime thing that's been going on for a while now, right? Like there's this whole service called Crunchyroll that has like thousands of subs on it, and like they're getting a shit ton of money. So we should jump on that. Yeah. What's a good one? Let's do Speed Racer.
Hey, that movie's actually pretty good.
To be sure, misunderstood, but and maybe that's more of an outlier. Maybe I should have used your Death Note that we just had not that long ago. Which
my god, I completely forgot.
That was a trip, man. That was one of those ones that I went into knowing that I was going to regret watching it, but I had to know.
Yeah. So yeah, we've seen the short-sightedness of people, of executives like approving these shows, not realizing the large undertaking for these sprawling epics or these very fantastical science fiction type shows. And then there's like a myriad, and I'm saying this like with the context that there's literally too much anime to watch now. So much anime is being dropped. Like every season, every few months, we get a new list of shows. Attack on Titan just finished. The new big show is, I'm looking at it right now, is Spy X Family.
White?
What?
This is a wrestling joke. Sorry.
I only heard the second half of it. That's the thing.
Is it Paul White?
Who's Paul White?
The Big Show.
What? Oh, the Big Show. I got okay. Based on what I said, I thought it was something that I was talking about. God damn it. But I mean, there's shows that are like literally grounded that you could adapt that don't involve stretchy powers or vampires or gigantic robots that they could do, but they decide to, no, let's make the big popular ones, which are the mecha or the isekai type shows, which I get because they're popular, but at the same time, there's other shows you could do.
It's the same. It's literally the same thought process from back in the 80s and 90s when you have Super Mario Brothers blowing up or Mortal Kombat blowing up, and you have these early directors and questionable script writers, optioning those properties and being like, absolutely, we will do this, and then they become stuff of legend just for the wrong reasons.
Well, okay.
Just because exec people thought, that's the big name. That's the name we want. We're going to get that. And now we're getting to a point where video game movies, depending on who you ask, are somewhere in this like middle ground area.
And
to middle ground to higher, again, depending on how you ask.
And I was actually jumping off of that with the Halo TV series because I have been watching it. I've been watching every episode.
Yeah. How is it?
Okay. So,
you always know when a deep dive is going to be good when it starts with,
okay. No, but so this is a Paramount Plus exclusive show, and there is definitely a Sci-Fi Channel type budget where they will put a large amount of the budget in the special effects and how everything looks, set design, costume design. But then they don't pay their writers enough to write good enough scripts. And jumping off of our previous topic of how, they see a very popular franchise and they want to adapt it based off of popularity, but not with enough time to come up with a cohesive story and or do a one-to-one adaptation, which for something as huge as the Halo franchise is, you could adapt one of the books, and they do bring over some of the book characters into this TV series, but they decided to we're going to do Master Chief, but it's going to be a separate timeline so that you can't get mad at us for doing very drastic decision making when it comes to the story. So throw everything you know about the Halo story out the window because this is a character but not a character that know. Like, this isn't something that you're going to be. There's visor shots like in the Doom movie where it's like, hey, this is just like the Halo game. But then they'll do an entire episode based on a character they just made up for the show and how she's part of the Rebel Alliance for her home planet. And she's trying to start a rebellion. It's kind of that. But she's this annoying character, and like Master Chief is not involved in that episode at all. It's just about her trying to start a rebellion to overthrow this evil tyrant government. That was the whole episode 7. And then the next episode, we're going to go back to Master Chief. Episode 8, Master Chief. But this time he's going to connect with this evil character, but then he's also going to lose his virginity. And Cortana's going to watch, and it's going to be very awkward. I don't know what they're like. Even if you get rid of the Halo title, make Master Chief just a generic, like he's the chosen one, super soldier kind of character.
Expert general.
Yeah. So if you made this just a generic Sci-Fi Channel show, this would actually not be terrible when it comes to like, oh, it's kind of innovative or interesting enough to set itself apart from other sci-fi shows. But because it's tied to the Halo name, the franchise, the music, the characters, it's nauseating. But it's characters that, it's in a separate timeline, so you can't get mad at us. They make decisions that make absolutely no sense. And characters who should be, destroyed or annihilated or gotten rid of. I typed in something completely different. I don't get it. Paramount Plus. There we go.
Yeah, I mean, it's somebody coming in, optioning an adaptation to a property, a well-established property at that. Seeing that there's 5 games or 6 games,
way more than that. Halo Wars, Reach,
like sub 10,
right? Yeah,
sub 10 games, like
known for 20 years.
At this point, 10 books at minimum. Plus all this ancillary stuff.
A universe. It's like it's the Star Wars problem.
It's got a whole fucking. There's a thing literally called the Halo Bible, sitting in the game's developer's office, and these people who come in to option the adaptation are like, "That's a lot of reading. Don't want to do it. So what are we gonna do? Different timeline. We can do whatever we want."
Yeah, it's the well, Star Trek did it, so we can do it kind of mindset. But it's not just that. It's the why are characters doing this? Oh, because it's kind of like the games. So they'll even go and say, this is a different timeline. Don't get mad at us. But we are going to cherry pick cool things that we like about the games or that our nephews are telling us about the games. And then we're going to put that in the show.
Well, I'm sure at some point they did have an outline. That's an outline is an outline made by Ben Affleck.
Okay.
In case you didn't know.
Thank you.
They have an outline. They have an outline of just like general big events, like regardless of the amount of research they did, they wouldn't have been able to make the show with Bungie or Microsoft, whoever they worked with.
343.
343.
Yeah.
Without having just a general outline of big events. Here's how Halo 1 ended. Here's how Halo 2 ended. That kind of shit. And they have this outline of these turning points or cruxes in the story, and they go that. Okay, take those three things. We will make them work somewhere, but we're gonna do our own thing first.
Yeah,
and then we're gonna throw these things that we picked out into that. The character that this would initially happen to doesn't exist in our timeline, but the event still happens. So it's like having your cake and eating it too.
Yeah. I just don't understand the logic behind it. Like they have been a Halo adaptation has been in the works for
it's been ages.
Like since 2008 or 9, since Neil Blomkamp was talking to Peter Jackson at the beginning.
Guillermo del Toro was supposed to be on it at one point. Yeah. I mean, it's when the discussion comes around to development hell video game movies, Halo is right up there at the top. Yep. It has been. There's been like 4 different directors attached to a movie.
Steven Spielberg.
At one point Spielberg was in on it. There's been like 3 different ideas for television shows, just all this shit. It's because it's a big property, and executives look at that and go, that is money. How do we do that? And then you bring people in who aren't familiar with it or just like don't want to bother, and they're like, yeah, I don't know. Or you do have someone on who's like, I judging the story based on these things, I want to do this, and this. And then the production company goes, hell no, that costs way too much money.
Yeah.
And we would make as much with doing as little as possible.
And that's the problem is neutering directors with the creative vision for a property that they are not only familiar with, even if they aren't, which in this case, I think it may be somebody who's a fan of the franchise, but doesn't really have the context. And this is where an extreme fan may even, if they're attached as a director, may even ruin an adaptation is because they come in with blinders on, whether it's due to the studio blinding them themselves or because they want to see their fan fiction come to life. And so that's what this is. That's essentially what this show is. It's fan fiction, Halo, and there's cool moments. There's a cool battle sequence, I believe, in episode 5 or 6. And it's cool, and it reminds you of the early trailers of the original trilogy promoting those games where they would like do those kinds of trailers, and it gives you like inklings of that, but then it's quickly over and it's back to the politics of Halsey, arguing with Master Chief, who I think the actor who's playing Master Chief, he's doing a great job. For all things considered, Pablo Schreiber, Liv Schreiber's brother, is
sure.
That's true. Is great, but other than that, definite miss. But I'm still going to watch the finale because I'm already 8 episodes in. So one more episode.
Yeah, at that point, it's like,
Sunken cost fallacy is a major motivator for me.
Yes.
And like even if it's not, it's I started the show 3 years ago, and people are saying that the season after the season I stopped at is really good, so I should probably just start over.
Are you subtweeting Westworld right now?
Westworld, Ozark, with it ending, Walking Dead, ironically, now that it's over, I kind of just want to be like, well, now that it's over, I can actually like take the time to watch it.
Yes, yeah. Or, you have been told what to expect by certain seasons, or however, and so you can go into season 2 of Westworld knowing that is a complete garbage fire. But at least season 3 kind of pulls it back a little bit.
Well, and it got even worse, and we've talked about this before, but I literally stopped the episode before it got good in season 2.
Yeah. No, it never got good in season 2.
Oh.
Not once.
Oh, okay.
Actually, no, I take that back. I think it started off okay in season 2.
Okay.
And then it was a steep decline. And not even decline. Like if this is episode 1, it is the straight down 90-degree angle of episode 2.
Good Lord.
And then you are like just skull caved in, blood and guts everywhere at the bottom of the canyon for the rest of the season.
Oh my God. Well, and I blame Jonathan Nolan and Lisa Joy, because as much as they have a creative, stylistic, artistic vision for the show, that does not like connect with the story, I guess, that they're trying to say, especially with season 1 being all like 3 different timelines, and season 2 doing something similar.
But way worse. Way worse.
Yeah.
I've never seen a bag fumbled so hard. I mean, like, aesthetics can only get you so far if your writing is shit.
Right.
And season 2, aesthetically, there's some really interesting things going on. Writing-wise, holy shit, man. What the fuck happens? And all that to say, the reason I bring this up is because season 4, the trailer dropped. So I've talked to you numerous occasions on this. You tagged me in the trailer. I'm very much hoping for more of a continued course correction off of season 3. Mm-hmm. Just trying to ball up season 2 and chuck it behind you. Never look back. Don't even talk about it.
Well, because was season 3 like more of a course correction? Was it better?
It was definitely better. Yes, it was more focused for one, and there was one sub story going on that I was kind of meh on, just because nothing really happened. It didn't really amount to anything.
Fun, but
for everything else, whether or not you like the direction it went is a different thing, but it was cohesive at the very least. It wasn't the fucking mind-melding train wreck that season 2 was. Just for like, so the what season 2 does is it looks at season 1 and your expectations off of that, because season 1 I uphold as like a perfect season of television.
Right.
It's amazing. Fantastic fucking show is season 1 of Westworld. Season 2 looks at that expectation and goes, what did we do in season 1? We had a split narrative across different timelines, and multiple perspectives. So what they instead do is take that kind of same concept, but then like memento it almost, where they're just taking shit and putting it somewhere else just because like, ooh, that'll get them talking. It's a very Lost season 5 way of approaching things.
That's another show that I never, and that was back when Lost revolutionized, like not streaming TV, but like basically big dramas that you could watch on your TV at home. It was movie quality stuff, but I never got into it. I think it was.
And I make that comparison as someone, I still like Lost. Ending notwithstanding, I thought it was, and I was one of the people who didn't watch Lost until like right before the last season. So I was just able to binge season 1 through whatever. And then I watched the last season as it aired. So my experience with it would probably differ a little bit from somebody who started in season 1 and had to wait all that time, and then by the end it's like But for me, I like the majority of that show. But it does employ a very, and people have gone on record who worked on the show saying verbatim, we didn't have a plan for these middle parts. We just kind of did whatever made you go, holy shit, I can't believe they just stopped the episode there. Yeah. Now I have to tune in next week to watch the next thing. And that's very much what Westworld Season 2 is, but done very poorly.
And Game of Thrones, the final season of Game of Thrones, too. Yeah. And the second half of Season 7. Which is why it's interesting people are talking about the House of the Dragon series coming out.
The trailer dropped, and I think I saw maybe a day and a half or half a day of discussion, and then I've not seen it at all.
I just remember in that day and a half, people were kind of hyped up about it because they're still burned by the show, and a lot of people who watch the show never read the books. I never read the books, but I know contextually that this is a story that is not only finished, so there is an ending, but it also takes place before, like far before, where you'll recognize last names, but no one that is from the original show is alive. Yeah. So they're trying to, and I don't think they'll be successful, but they're trying to be, hey, this is us retrying. We're just forget the other one. Just watch this one. And I don't know how successful they're going to be with the popularity of this show, knowing how burned people were.
Would you say that's what they're trying? Because to me, it feels like, to me, it feels like we have this massive IP and we want to keep trying to make money off of it.
It's both.
That's what it feels like to me.
It's both. It's people with the good intentions are the people on the ground level who directed the show and are fans of the show enough to where they wanted to direct episodes of Game of Thrones, even after the opinions.
I'm not saying I already have written off the show or anything. I don't know maybe the show ends up being really quality. I don't know. Right. I'm just saying, for me, it is less of like a, hey, let's try that again, and more of like a money on the table. We got to get it. Very similar to the feeling that I think is pervading the Avatar 2 trailer drop as well.
So did that you didn't really get like this is really cool. I'm interested in rewatching Avatar 1 for Avatar 2 kind of thing.
No, I've never once in my life thought I'm really interested in watching Avatar 1. Okay, so the first time I watched Avatar was I think a year or two after it had been out.
Wow, really?
It was not in theaters, so I didn't get the big experience of seeing it on a huge screen or anything, which I understand is a lot of people's draw to the movie. And I'm not going to sit here and shit on Avatar because it's been done to death. Anything that's been said about Avatar will be said about Avatar, or has already been said about Avatar. But for me personally, I just thought it was a fine movie.
Right.
So when it takes, a decade and a half or whatever,
2009, yeah,
to come out with a sequel, and your trailer is, well, it looks pretty. It still looks pretty.
I think
that's
that's really the only thing drawing me to the movie is, this looks pretty. Yeah. So I mean, if I can watch a 2 hour, it's not going to be 2 hours. It's going to be 3.5 hours. I just know it because the original was. But It's going to be a 2-hour, painting visual delight if I watch it. I don't want to watch it in 3D, but I'm probably going to have to.
You think drop it in 3D?
They dropped they dropped Doctor Strange in 3D so that they could show the Avatar trailer in 3D.
Wow.
Did you not know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Well,
that's bonkers. That's some Hollywood nutso shit right
that's
there.
Disney clearly throwing their balls on the table and going, look at this. You better pay a premium for it. And they're re-releasing the first Avatar movie in theaters in September.
Multiverse of Madness didn't have anything that was conducive to 3D, right? They literally just had 3D showings for the trailer at the front.
Well, they were literally handing out 3D glasses for a screening of Doctor Strange so that you could watch the trailer in 3D.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I have. Wow. That's nuts, man.
That's Disney's nuts on the table, saying you better pay a premium for this.
That's also the balls of James Cameron, quite frankly.
Well, the guy is willing to wait like 12, 13, 14 years to make another movie simply, and so he's made like 6 movies in his lifetime. I'm trying to think now. Piranha, Terminator 2, Avatar,
Aliens.
Avatar 2. Wait, what?
Aliens.
Oh yeah, Aliens. True Lies. I'm gonna go to his IMDb here.
The balls of a man to not only wait over a decade to drop a trailer for the second film, but also subsequently say there's also gonna be 4 after this.
Oh, that's Disney, and it was a mutual like, hey, do you want to do 4 more of these? And he's like, yeah, sure. I am going to film like a majority of them back to back to back. Like 2 and 3 are already done filming.
Yes.
So 3 is already in post production while they're just kind of waiting to drop. And we're like, so it's done filming. Avatar 3 is done filming. Fucking forget 2. 3 is done filming. They're in post production, but it's not coming out until December of 2024. They're doing this is still part of that deal that we talked about years ago where they're doing the Avatar Star Wars, Avatar Star Wars, Avatar Star Wars.
Well, and quite frankly, even without Star Wars as large as of their docket as they initially wanted it to be, they still have a shit ton on their docket, so it makes sense why they would space it out quite a bit.
I completely forgot a couple of movies, but I'm going to talk about James Cameron's filmography. A lot of these are documentaries. I'm talking theatrically released motion pictures. That's
right there, 3, 4, 5, right there.
Shut up. So no, we'll get into it. Piranha 2, The Spawning, The Terminator, Aliens, not music video, The Abyss, which I forgot, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, True Lies. I'm not doing video shorts. Titanic. It's not TV shows, not documentaries, and then Avatar, and then the Avatar movies. So, what is The Informationist? Whoa. Where am I? There we go. An information specialist is hired by a Texas oil billionaire to find his daughter who vanished in Africa 4 years ago. First time I've ever heard of it. And that's not coming out until like 2036 or something. But yeah, so Piranha 2. Hold on, I'll go back to his directors. Piranha 2, The Terminator. The Terminator. Aliens. The Abyss. He directed Terminator 1 and Terminator 2?
Did he direct Terminator 1? I thought he just was he on the production team?
It's James Cameron. He did Terminator 1. But then why am I confused?
I don't know. Maybe I bet you're thinking of Aliens. I bet that's what's going on in our brains.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's Aliens. So he did 1 and 2. So director. Piranha 2, Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, True Lies, Titanic, and then Avatar. Not counting documentaries, TV movies, or video shorts. So that's 8. So he stays busy. But like,
look, man, when 2 two of your movies are in the highest grossing films of all time. Two of your other movies are three if you count both Terminator 1 and 2. Three of your movies are like nerd legend between Terminator, T2, and Aliens. And then you have like shit like True Lies and The Abyss in there. Solid films. Yeah, I mean, dude's a fucking legend. Despite, I'm not a huge James Cameron filmography fan. Aliens and T2. The first Terminator I prefer over T2, which I know is fucking sacrilege.
Whoa!
I get it. But those two for me are like the high points. Hey, Titanic's a fine movie. It's good. So I'm not like a huge Cameron fan or anything, but I can recognize the man like knows how to shoot a fucking movie for sure. And makes goddamn bank. So you know what? If he wants to spend the next couple years just dropping Avatar movies, whatever.
Sorry. I was listening and paying attention. I don't understand. Like, I mean, obviously now it's definitely, he started off strong with his filmography. So he just catapulted into the stratosphere when it came to his success. And the fact that, following Titanic and following Avatar somehow with its success, he's on the pantheon of directors when it comes to, the next, Steven Spielberg movie is coming out, or the next Paul Thomas Anderson movie is coming out. So we need to go see that, or maybe not maybe Tarantino.
Tarantino's probably closest.
Well, especially when you wait like huge periods of time to see their movies. The next Edgar Wright movie. I read somewhere that it said Michael Biehn was, and I got scared. But he's still alive. Yeah. He's still alive. We're good. We're good. I know. Talk about another legend. But let's I wanted to talk about something because you're a video game guy, right?
I play the video games. I'm a video game boy.
We started off with
let's end it with video games because we started with video. It will be book, video game, and
blah, 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 blah. Oh yeah, so are you familiar with Jim Ryan?
Yeah, I did see this. Yep.
I don't know if do you want to talk about this?
We can talk about it. Yeah.
Because I was watching other people's reactions to it, and they're kind of all over the place because it's a very hot topic, I should say, like the store.
Yeah. Sure.
With all your golf shirts. But this is from Bloomberg, from Jason Schreier. In the email seen by Bloomberg, PlayStation president Jim Ryan didn't take a stance on abortion rights, instead writing that the company and its community are multifaceted and diverse, holding many different points of view. He wrote that we owe it to each other and to PlayStation's millions of users to respect differences of opinion among everyone in our internal and external communities. Respect does not equal agreement, but it is fundamental to who we are as a company and as a valued global brand. Ryan then went on to write that he would like to share something lighthearted to help inspire everyone to be mindful of having balance that can help ease the stress of uncertain world events. And then talking about his cat's birthday for like the rest of the email, which is a bad call.
Yeah.
Just end the email there, blah, 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 blah. So that's the huge like chunk of what people are talking about is his.
Yeah, so long story short, he sent an internal email around to Sony Studios, and it was like, hey, I'm not taking a certain position on this, but with abortion being a huge thing, be respectful of your coworkers who don't share the idea that women can control their own bodies. First off, if you're gonna send an email like that, sense the tone or sense the energy in the room.
Yeah.
Your stupid fucking cat story is so fucking tone deaf. I don't even know. Like, how do you become an executive in such a high profile company with being that fucking stupid to put that in there? Two,
privilege.
Yeah, really. Two, if they're going to be like, I'm not going to take a position on it by saying this thing that is taking a position on it, you're going to get your ass dragged. You can try to uh, twist it into like, oh, well, I'm, just, arguing in good faith or whatever. But
Yeah.
like the moment we start seeing laws come into play, certain things being passed in state legislatures that would basically criminalize women being able to protect themselves from certain life-threatening things.
Mm-hmm.
You can't argue that. And to me, if I were to see that fucking email go out and the shit that's going on right now,
Right.
in terms of abortion, is going on, that would not make me feel very good about working there.
Mm.
That means that you're not going to. You're more worried about protecting
The image,
Joe's feelings and the image, the company's image. You want everybody to be quiet and sing "Kumbaya," even though a proportion of your company apparently wants to make sure that we are in a Margaret Atwood novel, and you are more worried about what Joe's feelings, who barely passed high school science, as opposed to Katie's, or whoever who actually has a fucking uterus and needs actually health care. Yeah, that would sting and be like, bro, what are you doing? What are you fucking doing?
right?
Like the yeah, I mean, I could go on forever, but the amount of tone deafness and short-sightedness and just like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why you would send that fucking email?
So I want to say something without trying to bring in my own personal bias, because that's the whole topic of the conversation. But not only is it tone deaf because of all of the reasons you just mentioned, but the fact is that he's trying to not hurt anyone's feelings. I'm essentially doing what he was trying to do the whole time, but simple fact of the matter is, what you're trying to avoid talking about, you are going to have a stance. You already have a bias, Jim Ryan. So whether or not you're trying to protect the image of the company, your own image, or I don't know, the future of your company, when it comes to talking about something that not necessarily has anything to do with your company's products, and granted, Sony has a lot of different products out there on the market. They sell a lot of different things, but simple fact of the matter is, he could have just not said anything and it would have sent the same message.
Yeah, well, if anything, saying nothing would technically have been a little better, even though, like, at that point, you're getting into
people come to the conclusions of what a company stands by based on
what they don't say. Yes,
what they don't
exactly.
say, which I'm kind of on the fence about.
In this scenario, too, you're asking people to be respectful of other stances, and that you are not taking a stance. But by you saying to be respectful of other stances, as you were saying, that is taking a stance. Right. That's saying that you value the harmony, so to speak, or the perceived harmony of people just ignoring it,
right,
or not talking about it. And it's like, what is the makeup percentage in your company of people who have uteruses, or people who are at risk of becoming pregnant? Maybe your focus should be on how they're feeling when legislation is being argued about whether or not we can dictate how their bodies are controlled, or what healthcare they can seek out, that kind of thing. Not, oh, well, they're making too much of a fuss.
Yeah.
In a cubicle. Or that's too much.
Our HR department is really overwhelmed, so we don't want to, have every single employee come to us about issues that they're dealing with in their personal lives. And I'm saying all of this not rhetorically, but like hypothetically, them saying we want to say something, but we also want to make sure that everyone is being, I don't know if inclusive is the right word, but we just don't want anyone to say anything, because that's a lot better than having to say something and have it blow up in our face. It's covering their ass. It's basically covering their position. And I really think if he's literally said nothing, if Sony never made a stance, or at least Jim Ryan in this case never made a stance, that would have been better than him saying out loud, we don't have a stance, because we have 4 different levels of opinion here. We have, I feel I am anti-choice, or not anti-choice, although that is grammatically correct. It's anti-choice, or I'm pro-life or pro-choice, and then I am the 2 options in between. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to voice my opinion and then be outed, and then I want to say something, but I don't want anyone else to get hurt. It's those 4 different like paths that people have to choose on a daily basis when it comes to a political opinion, but it's really a life opinion. It's people they're going to have to wake up one morning, if all of this goes through, which, you know, is a foregone conclusion at this point. They're going to have to wake up one morning and have to deal with the repercussions of people that they didn't even vote to be put in power. And the simple fact of the matter is, somebody is making someone else's choice for them. And from humanity's perspective, that is kind of antithetical to our whole government and the whole reason why we created this country. So,
and quite frankly, we live in a country that unfortunately has very little limits on political donations. So that's another question you have to ask about yourself. How much of a donation, and where is that donation going to from Sony, or at least Jim Ryan's kind of area? And you know, I think it speaks volumes that your email is not we value everybody's right to choice. We value everybody's right to bodily autonomy. Your email is don't talk about it.
Yeah,
that says a lot more to me. You as a person, at least, if this wasn't a board decision, that's more what you're worried about, as opposed to having your employees feel safe and cared for.
Right. They're not.
You're more worried about rocking the boat than you are taking care of people.
Right. And that sucks. I mean, you can kind of see from I'm talking like all the way out in space, looking down at this email, all the way from the moon, going, okay, I understand his intentions behind this. If it wasn't such a hot political topic, if it was like, say, the verdict on the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, no one talk about this. No one talk about the result of this this trial. Then it would be completely different, because it's not something that affects every single American that's having to go through this, you know. And Sony isn't just a company that's only in America too. They're based in Japan. They have offices all over the world. So and granted, he's the CEO of the Sony America.
Well, it's PlayStation specifically too. We said Sony a couple times, but
you're right.
It's not Sony.
We apologize. Yes, that is better to put that into context. Sony PlayStation CEO, but I stand by what I said. He's talking for, or he's speaking for a lot of people when they have their own voice, and that's pretty fucked up. Good intentions aside,
it's like what you said. It's literally privilege. That's what it is. Yeah. It's I have a very limited life scope and experience. My experience is that no animosity or no antagonizing of people is the best way, because I have the ability to continue my life as who I am, with little to no blowback. These decisions aren't going to affect me directly, my body personally.
Right.
So I, Jim Ryan, think that just being respectful is the right way to go, because I that's how I would approach it as who I am, as a straight white man.
Yeah.
Who
Rich straight white man.
Who this does not affect. Yes, exactly. Rich straight white man.
Because even if you take all of his other factors into account, he would have the money to have to deal with any sort of repercussions that he himself would have to make, or that he would have to face.
It's been talked to death. It's respectability politics.
Yeah.
It will always be here, no matter what.
Yeah. Don't be a shitty person. Be a good person. Be kind to the people around you, regardless of how different from you they are.
Maybe take life experiences from people who are vastly different from you into consideration before you talk out your ass about how they should lead their life.
Yeah. I mean, holy shit, the world would be so much more boring if everyone was like you. Good Lord. Look at the more interesting...
Fuck. I don't want a bunch of me's running around.
Fuck, we both are. Look at how identical we are. You just have a larger beard, but we are both straight white men who are just talking out of their ass on the internet because we have the ability to and because we want to. But it all boils down to shut the fuck up, us. Like, I mean, literally. With all of that being said, thank you so much for watching the Good Goose podcast. We thank you for joining us. You can see us on YouTube. You can see us on Patreon at patreon.com/goodgoose. You can buy our merch at store.lightscameranonsense.com. Fucking follow us, like us, rate us 5 stars, and we really appreciate any kind of support. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.
Bye.